Welcome back to WION World is One. You're watching Speed News with me, Vidur Kathuria. Let's get started. Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesman Ismail Baghai said Iran will give a comprehensive and regret-inducing response to any aggression. He made the remarks at a weekly press conference in Tehran in response to US military movements in West Asia and its ongoing joint drills with Gulf states. Regarding the recent US military deployments in the region and the imposition of new sanctions, Baghai said that Iran has continued to face a hybrid war orchestrated by the US. He reiterated that America's enmity towards Iran remains unchanged, citing last year's attacks and the use of economic terrorism. USS Abraham Lincoln Carrier Strike Group has arrived in West Asia, increasing US military presence amid weeks of violent anti-government protests in Iran. A carrier strike group normally includes an aircraft carrier, guided missile cruisers, anti-aircraft warships, and anti-submarine destroyers or frigates. US President Donald Trump continues to consider options for striking Iran, but there is no indication any decision has been made. Meanwhile, Washington has emphasized on regional security and said all options are on the table. Israel has brought back the remains of the last hostage held in Gaza. The final hostage has returned 843 days after Hamas attacked Israel on October 7, 2023. Ran Gvili, a 24-year-old police officer, was killed at Kibbutz Alumim during the October 7th attack. His body was subsequently abducted. Israeli police held a ceremony for the last slain hostage after the retrieval of his remains. The identification of Gvili's remains marks the conclusion of the first phase of a US-brokered ceasefire agreement between Israel and Hamas. US President Donald Trump said that Venezuela was releasing political prisoners at a rapid rate, adding that the pace of release would increase in the near term. In Truth Social, Trump thanked Venezuela's leadership for what he described as a powerful humanitarian gesture. This after Venezuela's interior minister has claimed over 800 prisoners have been released so far. The release of the prisoners followed Maduro's capture on January 3rd in Caracas and his arraignment in New York on narco-terrorism charges. Venezuela's interim president, Delcy Rodriguez, has said the nation expects about $1.4 billion investments in oil projects operating under production-sharing contracts this year, up from nearly $900 million in 2025. Rodriguez made these remarks during a meeting with oil executives at Caracas. Officials discussed a proposed reform of Venezuela's main oil law that would formally incorporate the output-sharing contracts. Rodriguez also pushed back against comments she attributed to US Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, calling them irrelevant and offensive. Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen said Europe has shown strength and unity over Greenland. US President Donald Trump had linked his drive to take control of Greenland to his failure to win the Nobel Peace Prize. He said he no longer thought purely of peace, as the row over the island earlier threatened to reignite a trade war with Europe. Meanwhile, NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte said he and Trump had agreed upon two work streams to diffuse the tensions between the US and the EU on the semi-autonomous Danish territory. The Trump administration has denied reports of Gregory Bovino being removed from his position as Commander-at-Large of the US Border Patrol. The reports began to surface amid anger over the killing of a second US citizen by federal agents in Minneapolis. 37-year-old Alex Pretty, an intensive care unit nurse, was gunned down at point-blank range by immigration officers while protesting in Minneapolis. Earlier, U.S. President Donald Trump said he was sending his top border enforcer, Tom Homan, to Minneapolis. Further, he said he held very good talks with Minnesota governor and mayor. Hundreds of protesters demonstrated against the presence of federal agents deployed by U.S. President Donald Trump in Maple Grove, just outside Minneapolis. This follows Saturday's shooting of a second U.S. citizen in Minneapolis by ICE agents. The protesters rallied outside the hotel where they believed ICE agent Greg Bovino, who killed 37-year-old ICU nurse, is staying. The fatal shooting of Pretty ignited political backlash and raised fresh questions about how the operation was being run. The White House has said U.S. President Donald Trump is not giving up on the Ukraine peace process and remains actively involved in it. This as talks between Ukrainian and Russian negotiators are expected to resume on February 1st. Following last weekend's peace talks in Abu Dhabi, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has urged allies to maintain pressure on Moscow. Meanwhile, Kremlin has stressed that territorial issues remain central to peace talks. Russian drones and missile strikes hit Kharkiv, Ukraine's second-largest city, leaving 2 people injured. The intense strikes knocked out power to 80% of the city and surrounding region and struck apartment buildings, a school and a kindergarten. Kharkiv mayor said an energy site had been targeted in the city as nighttime temperatures dipped to -14 degrees Celsius. The constant threat of further air raids further complicated repair efforts. India and the European Union are likely to announce a historic mega free trade agreement. After 20 years of negotiations, the FTA deal will aim at boosting economic ties, attracting investment and countering global competition from US and China. India and the EU have been strategic partners since 2004. The proposed security and defense partnership is set to facilitate deeper defense and security cooperation between the two sides. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney is likely to visit India in the first week of March. India's High Commissioner to Canada, Dinesh Patnaik, confirmed the development, though Canada's Energy Minister Tim Hodgson, who is currently in India, said the timing of the trip is still being finalized. This comes as Canada seeks to reduce its heavy dependence on the United States, its largest trading partner. Carney also recently visited Beijing, marking the first ever visit by a Canadian Prime Minister to China since 2017. The UAE has scrapped its plan to operate Islamabad International Airport. The project has reportedly been under discussion since August 2025, but fell through after Abu Dhabi could not find a local partner to manage airport operations. The development comes just days after UAE President Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan's India visit. During Al Nahyan's nearly 3-hour visit in India, the UAE also agreed to increase cooperation in the defense sector, according to the Ministry of External Affairs. Both sides decided to strengthen strategic and security ties between them. A small group of South Korean demonstrators rallied near the US Embassy in Seoul to denounce US President Donald Trump's plans to raise tariffs on South Korean imports. The protesters, some wearing Trump masks and holding placards, chanted slogans condemning the US and calling for an end to what they described as interference in internal affairs. Some even argued that South Korea's laws require public consultation and bipartisan review on major investment or trade-related decisions. Earlier, Trump had threatened to raise tariffs on US imports of South Korean autos and other goods. A Hong Kong court has heard recordings of defiant anti-Beijing speeches, some dating back nearly 30 years, as prosecutors presented their case against two democracy activists facing national security charges. Lee Cheuk-yan and Chow Hang-tung, leaders of the now defunct Hong Kong Alliance, are standing for trial for incitement to subversion, which carries a maximum penalty of 10 years in jail. They were held responsible for organizing annual candlelight vigils to mark Beijing's deadly crackdown on Tiananmen Square demonstrators on June 4, 1989. France's lower house approves bill banning social media use for children under 15 amid growing concerns about online bullying and mental health risks. National Assembly has passed the bill in the overnight session, which will now head to the Senate. President Emmanuel Macron has called it a major step to protect young people. Ryan Wedding, a Canadian former Olympic snowboarder, pleaded not guilty to charges of becoming a cocaine smuggling kingpin responsible for multiple drug-related murders in a U.S. federal court in Santa Ana, California. Following the short hearing, his lawyer Anthony Colombo addressed the media saying his client is in good spirits. Wedding was flown to California after being arrested in Mexico City on Thursday. 44-year-old Wedding is accused of leading a transnational drug trafficking network and working with Mexico's Sinaloa cartel to transport hundreds of kilograms of cocaine from Colombia through Mexico to the US and Canada. He was on the FBI's top 10 most wanted list. Banks in Bolivia will begin returning US dollar savings to small savers following 2 years of restrictions caused by a foreign currency shortage in the national financial system. Bolivian President Rodrigo Paz Pereira launched the process in the southern city of Potosi, saying savers will initially be allowed to withdraw up to $1,000, with withdrawal limits expected to rise as liquidity improves. In a statement released by the Central Bank of Bolivia, it was indicated that the beneficiaries of this refund will be all savers, individuals and legal entities who, as of December 31st of last year, had up to $1,000 in their savings or checking accounts. The measure will also benefit 20,000 small businesses that have up to $1,000 deposited in banks. A massive winter storm dumped large amounts of snow across much of the US over the weekend, leaving at least 29 people dead and nearly 200 million Americans under cold weather alerts. The storm disrupted power supplies and air travel, as well as prompted states of emergency across the country. Washington, D.C. was blanketed with over 20 centimeters of snow in nearly 20 hours of snowfall. The US capital is likely to remain snowbound for a while as temperatures plunge to minus 10 degrees Celsius. Federal agencies announced a one-day closure, allowing employees to work from home. Transit authorities reduced routes and slowed down operations on the city's subway systems. The death toll from Indonesia's West Java has risen to 26, while dozens still remain missing. This as search operations have intensified in the landslide-hit Bandung Barat region The landslide was triggered by heavy rains starting the day before, which the weather agency warned could continue in the province and several other regions for another week. The impacted Pasir Langu village is located in a hilly area of the province about 100 kilometers southeast of Indonesia's capital, Jakarta. More than 30 houses were buried by the landslide. Argentines in Buenos Aires sought relief from a harsh heat wave by swapping steaming yerba mate for its chilled version with ice cubes. In the capital, families flocked to ponds and fountains, paddling in the water and sheltering in the shade of trees, while parks and promenades thinned out under the midday sun. Some residents carried cold drinks and wore minimal clothing as the heat intensified. Many also traded the traditional hot meat for terere, its chilled version, often prepared with ice and juice. According to Argentina's National Meteorological Service, thermometers in Buenos Aires will reach a maximum of 36 degrees Celsius. Beluga whales that had been facing euthanasia in Canada could be getting a lifeline in the United States after the Canadian Fisheries Minister gave conditional approval for their relocation. Canadian theme park Greenland, which once saw millions of visitors and has one of the largest captive whale populations in the world, closed at the end of last summer. It said it may have to euthanize its remaining 30 beluga whales if they don't receive emergency funding from the government. The park had recently denied a permit by Canada's Fisheries and Oceans Department to ship the last remaining whales to an aquarium in China. Asian equities edge higher after Wall Street gains with positive investor sentiment ahead of the upcoming US earnings season and signs of stability in global markets. Stock markets across the region remained in green. South Korea's Kospi opened lower on Trump's new tariff announced, but it soon turned positive, gaining more than 1%. Chinese stocks also rallied on positive annual industrial profits. The Japanese yen strengthened near the 154 per dollar level, gaining on the US currency amid speculation of potential coordinated market intervention. Traders will keep a close eye on corporate earnings reports and macroeconomic indicators for further direction. China's industrial sector recorded its first annual profit increase in 4 years in 2025, signaling modest recovery despite weak domestic demand. Profits rose 0.6% for the year, supported by strong exports and government measures to curb price wars. In December alone, industrial profits jumped 5.3% year-on-year, reversing November's decline. Analysts say the data highlights the ongoing tension between export strength and soft consumer demand at home, suggesting that while manufacturing is stabilizing, China's economic recovery remains uneven and dependent on both domestic and global conditions. Oil prices eased on Tuesday even as severe winter weather in the United States hit crude output and disrupted Gulf Coast refineries. Brent crude fell almost 0.4% to about $65 a barrel, while US crude oil also dipped nearly 0.3%. The US oil producers lost up to 2 million barrels per day, which is around 15% of total output. Traders balanced the supply disruption against OPEC Plus signals that output increases may remain on hold in March, keeping global oil markets under pressure. Meta, TikTok, and YouTube are set to face courtroom scrutiny in the United States over allegations that their platforms are fueling a youth mental health crisis. A landmark trial beginning this week in California involves a 19-year-old woman who claims she became addicted to social media at a young age due to the platform's attention-grabbing design. The plaintiff alleges that the apps contributed to her depression and suicidal thoughts and is seeking to hold the tech giants legally responsible. Google has agreed to pay $68 million to settle a lawsuit accusing its voice assistant of illegally recording private conversations. The preliminary class action settlement was filed in a federal court in California and is subject to approval by a U.S. district judge. Smartphone users allege that Google Assistant recorded and shared private audio after being activated without intent, a process known as false accepts, and used the data for targeted advertising. Google denied any wrongdoing but agreed to settle to avoid the costs and risks of litigation. Artificial intelligence is yet to deliver breakthrough drug discoveries, but pharmaceutical companies say it is already transforming the industry. The discussion around AI in drug development intensified at the recent JP Morgan Healthcare Conference, where top global drug makers spoke about how they are using AI to speed up clinical trials and regulatory processes. Executives from major pharma companies said AI is helping identify trial participants, select sites, and prepare documents, cutting weeks from time-consuming tasks in a process that can take up to 10 years and cost around $2 billion per drug. The European Commission has formally designated Meta Platforms WhatsApp as a very large platform under the EU's Digital Services Act, or DSA, making it more responsible for tackling illegal and harmful content. The Commission said that it was considering such a move as WhatsApp had 51.7 million average monthly active users of its channels in the EU in the first 6 months of 2025, above the 45 million user threshold set out in the DSA. The DSA requires such large platforms to do more to tackle illegal and harmful content. Microsoft has unveiled the second generation of its in-house artificial intelligence chip, along with software tools that take aim at one of NVIDIA's biggest competitive advantages with developers. The new Maya 200 chip comes online this week in a data center in Iowa, with plans for a second location in Arizona. It is the second generation of an AI chip called Maya that Microsoft introduced in 2023. The Maya 200 comes as major cloud computing firms such as Microsoft, Alphabet's Google, and Amazon.com's Amazon Web Services, some of NVIDIA's biggest customers, are producing their own chips that increasingly compete with NVIDIA. According to Elon Musk's post on X, SpaceX has scheduled the first test of its upgraded Starship V3 rocket for mid-March. The new version of Starship is larger and more powerful and is designed to launch next-generation Starlink satellites with higher speeds and greater weight. Starship V3 is also the first version built to dock with other Starships in Earth orbit, a crucial capability for future missions to the Moon and Mars. The launch was delayed after a booster explosion during testing in November 2025, when a pressure test caused major damage to the rocket. Sunny Deol's war epic Border 2 has officially unleashed a tsunami at the global box office following its release over the Republic Day weekend. The film has grossed a staggering Rs 239.2 crores worldwide in just its first 4 days. That is around $26 million. The sequel is currently the highest grossing Bollywood film of 2026.